Hey, everybody. Welcome to our weekly campaign update. My name is Andy Moore. I'm the Executive Director of People Not Politicians. You may have seen me here on this video stream in the past. Joining me today is my daughter, Margot. So if she decides to start chatting while we're doing this, my apologies. She doesn't make much sense because she's a baby. What a week. It has been. Let me think back real quick. So Monday, the House announced their redistricting plan, right? And this year or next year, it will involve all 101 members of the state House of Representatives. And they divided into regional subcommittees and all of this with some aspirational goals of involving the public more. It is rare, in my experience, that there's a problem involving politicians that can be solved by throwing even more politicians at the problem. But that's exactly what they're doing. And I think it's clear that that our effort here, our movement to end gerrymandering in Oklahoma is starting to get to them, right? Like they are so opposed to relinquishing their power to gerrymander that they have recruited members of both parties, everybody, like we're all in this. We've got to draw districts in a way that reflects the public, sure, but also reflects incumbents and where they live. So that is an interesting shift. That is the most dramatic shift, arguably, in how redistricting has been done in this state in 100 years. And I 100% think that it is because we have been forcing this issue into the public discourse, and that they know, just like we do, that independent redistricting is something that people want. We've done polling. I assume that they have done polling as well, and they know that this is very popular, and that if we could get on the ballot, it would pass. And they are nervous about that. They don't want to give up power, which moves them towards doing or at least saying things that look like the right thing to do. Now, politicians are great at saying one thing and doing another, and we saw earlier this year where they talked about Medicaid expansion. They even passed laws to fund Medicaid expansion. And then at the very last moment, right, like at the 11th hour, the rug got pulled out from underneath that plan, and it had to go back to a vote of the people. And they had, from not talking about it to being willing to fund it, and were 100% on board, and at the last minute it dropped off. I think that is probably indicative of what to expect. Also, regardless of how many public groups they do and all that stuff, it's still politicians drawing the lines, right? Like those committees are supposed to report back to whomever is drawing the lines, some House staffers, I guess, but it is still them behind the scenes doing it. And our contention is that politicians shouldn't be allowed to draw their own districts. It's very simple. So that was on Monday. Tuesday was, of course, the end of the challenge period for our most recent filing. And indeed, we got a challenge in the afternoon on Tuesday. I happened to look on the state Supreme Court website, and there it was. Their challenge is a third time. So you may assume, but like legal challenges before the state Supreme Court are not inexpensive, right? Like the amount of time and money involved in paying for them to like read this stuff and to come up with a challenge and write their brief is tens of thousands of dollars every time. And this is the third time they've done it. And so if that tells you anything about what's going on behind the scenes for the opposition, there's some insight there. We had heard last week that there were some national groups who were in Oklahoma raising money to challenge us in court, and I guess they got the money because they challenged us. We've seen this in other states as well. So, last year, the U.S. Supreme Court decided not to rule on gerrymandering and left it up to people in the states. And there was folks across the country that have been complaining about gerrymandering for decades, right? And once that avenue was closed down, it was clear that it was going to have to come from the people. This is not coming from the politicians. And so in many states, this movement had already been happening. And, people in Oklahoma had been talking about it for years as well. And we kind of banded together and really made this a formal deal last year about the same time. And so the fact that It passed in a number of other states, Missouri, Utah, some other states. It passed 2 years ago, or similar measures. They're all a little bit different, but the same independent commission idea passed in those states. And we have since seen these outside groups go into those states and run campaigns to undercut the will of the people, right? In Missouri, they're doing this. They passed this big reform package with lots of really great, good governance reforms, like stuff to election laws, campaign finance laws, and government transparency. It was very pro-democracy and good for the people. And this year, the legislature there has tried to undercut them, and so they have sent another measure to the ballot that would basically undo the will of the people that passed just 2 years ago. I expect that kind of stuff will happen here, right? Like, as we've said a number of times, no one gives up their power willingly. And so here we are fighting for this, to the extent that we can. And it's really disheartening, right? And just frustrating. Like, it kind of makes me angry that they're going to keep fighting. And all they're trying to do is slow us down and delay a vote of the people. They just don't want the people to vote on this. They want to say, hey, we can do a good job. We'll be good this time. I promise. Just trust me one more time. Give me one more chance. And it's like a bad relationship. And so we're trying to say no. Like, this is why you're supporting this effort. This is why it's, when I say we, I mean like the thousands of Oklahomans that have given time, given money, signed up on our lists, that are helping us connect with other Oklahomans to spread the word that the politicians' time of doing gerrymandering is drawing to a close, and it's going to be because the people, you and I, stand up and demand it, right? So that's really the long and short of it on this week's update. They're trying to do smoke and mirrors and make it sound like they're doing a good job. At the end of the day, it's still politicians, still drawing the lines. And at the same time, they're out there challenging us a third time. I did not, when I left working in healthcare and public health, I didn't anticipate two big things that have happened in the past year. One, of course, is a global pandemic. Didn't anticipate that. And secondly, I didn't anticipate being a named defendant before the state Supreme Court 3 times in 1 year. 3 times. That's bananas. So, it's clear they're going to do anything they can to hang on to their power, because as long as they can draw the lines, it means they can get reelected, and that they're not really accountable to the people. And that just chaps my hide. So, what I need from you, or what we need from you, is thoughts and prayers. First of all, this is not easy. Trying to prepare for another court battle and decide, how we argue against this. They come up with something different every time. The things they're arguing about have been in the policy. They're just deciding to bring them up now. They were fine the last 2 times, but now, well, okay. So we're still out there. We're still trying to spread the word. So if you want to host like a Zoom meeting or a Google Hangouts or whatever the platform is that you like the best with some of your friends, like I'm having a virtual happy hour with some friends this afternoon. They already know about this, but if your friends don't and you'd like to invite me or one of our team to join like your little hangout, you want to go to a park, those kinds of things that are, safe but still effective, we'd love to do it. We'd love to just reach out to us, hit us up on social media, or send an email to info@peoplenotpoliticians.org. And we would love to connect with you and get that set up. We're working on one in Southeast Oklahoma right now for sometime next week, and really excited. Like, I love meeting new people, and it is really exciting to see the passion, the excitement about ending gerrymandering in Oklahoma. Nothing about us without us. We've got to stand up and fight for this. And it's clear that the politicians don't want us to. So maybe that's motivating alone. Just the fact that you can kind of buck the system. What we really care about is having a good democracy, fair elections, and fair maps that represent all people and that are drawn to represent the people, not just the politicians. So hit us up. We'd love to connect with you. If you're already a supporter, if you're already in our network or whatever, we want to hear why. All right. I've talked to a lot of you in person or on the computer over the last few months. If we are soon going to be rolling out a new feature on our website where you can very easily submit your story, right? We'll do this, I think next week is the plan, so that you can submit your story. We'd love to learn about you and why this issue is so important to you. We really want to hear that, because we want to demonstrate what we already know to be true, that this is a movement of the people and by the people of Oklahoma. It's by Oklahomans and for Oklahomans, and nothing says that louder or more clearly than your faces on the screen or your words. So if you'd like to do that, please take a look on our website. I'll remind you next week with our update, but this is very important. Secondly, as always, we have to go back to court. We have really great attorneys. Sadly, they don't work for free. They are very reasonable, but they don't work for free. And if you're able to help out with that, even in a small way, that would be really helpful. Legal costs do add up. This is their plan, right? Like the politicians are trying to go to their deep pockets of their donors to raise money so they can try to bleed us dry, because they probably rightly suspect that, everyday Oklahomans don't have the cash flow to fund big legal battles. And sadly, that's true. However, when you divide it out between all of us, right? $5 here, Margot agrees. If you divide it out, $5 here, $10 there, we get there. And we've done it in the past, and we'll do it again. So thank you, as always, for your support, for your time. Enjoy your family this weekend, your friends, read a little bit about the labor movement and what how this all got started. Turns out Labor Day is not the day that mothers go into labor. That's not it. So if you thought that, sorry to disappoint you. All right, have a great weekend, everybody.